Good evening and welcome to Ghana Tonight. I'm Keminni Amanor. Our top stories this hour. A new Chief Justice is in town. Paul Bafuboni promises a fair judiciary devoid of unnecessary delays. Tonight, we delve into those transformative assurances as we look ahead into the future. Also tonight, the latest on the Ghana Armed Forces enlistment exercise. Find out how the surviving victims are doing and what the military has in place to protect applicants. Plus, restructured VAT is not receiving the same level of applause in the business community. Tonight, Ghana Union of Traders Association thinks government could have restructured more efficiently. What that means tonight. You're watching us live on TV3 and listening to us on 392.7 FM. We'll also be streaming on facebook.com, x.com, 3news.com, and on YouTube. If you'd like to be a part of the program, join us with your comment, questions, and thoughts using the hashtag Ghana Tonight. Well, now, let's bring you Ghana Brief.
President Mahama says his government remains committed to safeguarding the independence of the judiciary. At the swearing-in of Justice Paul Bafuboni as Chief Justice, President Mahama noted that the various arms of government must operate independently and also collaborate for the common good. Meanwhile, Chief Justice Paul Bafuboni says the judiciary must protect the vulnerable and resist undue influence.
Our judiciary must be independent, impartial, and accessible. It must not serve the powerful or the connected at the expense of the weak and the vulnerable. It must resist any incursions on its freedoms, but also embrace accountability, transparency, and continuous reform.
Parliament will engage in fierce debate on the 2026 budget from Tuesday, November 18, with members expected to approve various estimates for the ensuing year. The first day of debate will feature key sectors like finance, economy, budget, and public interest and the agreed time allotment for the commentaries. To ensure insightful debating process, Parliament has held 3 days post-budget workshop to equip members with relevant details and technical knowledge of the budget.
Economic difficulties our people face today, whether in the rising of costs of living, high unemployment, demand that we as representatives of the people engage the budget with clarity, compassion, and responsibility.
We as parliamentarians must therefore scrutinize the budget thoroughly, ensuring that allocations are equitable, realistic, and results-oriented.
Fraudulent visa applications are on the rise in Ghana, prompting warnings from 3 major foreign missions. The UK, the Canadian, and Australian High Commission says thousands of applicants risk long-term travel bans if they fall prey to scams. Fraud and security consultant Richard Kumado says the warnings are meant to alert both applicants and agents who attempt to exploit people with false documentation.
People are afraid to apply for visa directly, and so you have agents who collect huge sums of money from them, and they put in their documents, and sometimes they don't even know the documents they are putting in. Then you also have a group of people who have deep connections within government, not NDC government or NPP government, but all our governments, and they travel with government agencies and they change applications and change titles for certain people. So these embassies are raising the alarm now, and they are flashing out the red flag and to set as a warning to people who will want to take advantage of next year's World Cup and dupe people or apply for wrong documentation.
The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakufiboa, says plans are underway to establish a system aimed at eradicating land corruption and eliminating middlemen. This is to ensure investment of land in Ghana is secured.
How we manage land in Ghana has been hell. Double sale, triple sale. Investor will come to Ghana, he will invest in land, the next day he is in court. The land belongs to somebody. In this budget, President Mahama is making it very clear that we are going to move a step ahead and invest in modern technology to manage land system, remap our whole country.
The Economic and Organized Crime Office, IOCU, through its flagship operation Lifeline on Friday 14th November 2025, raided a cyber fraud ring operation from a compound house at Matayeko Afienya in the Greater Accra region. The operation led to the arrest of 7 Nigerian nationals suspected to be involved in cyber activities targeting Nigerian nationals. The victims were aged between 17 and 30 years. The suspects used various methods to exploit their victims, including emotional manipulation and threats. IOCU is currently investigating the full extent of the operation and the network involved.
Ghana Brief there for you. If you're just joining us, this is Ghana Tonight live on TV3 and on 392.7 FM. Alfred has the night off. I am Keminni Amanor. There's a new sheriff in town for the judiciary. President Mahama swears in Paul Bafo-Boni as Chief Justice. Let's get into that now. Tonight, Paul Bafo-Boni goes to bed the new Chief Justice of Ghana after several months of occupying the position in acting capacity. At his swearing-in ceremony hours ago, the President, John Dramani Mahama, assured that his government remains committed to safeguarding the independence of the judiciary. Take a listen.
Even as we emphasize independence, we must also recognize the need for cooperation among the 3 arms of government. The judiciary needs an enabling legal framework, adequate budgetary allocation, and supportive policies. The executive and the legislature on their parts require timely and impartial judicial interpretations of the law and the Constitution. In my administration's reset agenda and broader reforms, we see the judiciary as a critical partner in building a just, prosperous, and stable Ghana. We will engage with your office in a spirit of consultation and respect, while scrupulously preserving your independence in the performance of your judicial functions. And so I charge you to lead with courage, even when decisions are difficult or unpopular.
After he was sworn in, Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Boni admonished the judiciary to protect the vulnerable and resist undue influence. He also promised to make the wheels of justice move faster and fairer.
Judiciary must be independent, impartial, and accessible. It must not serve the powerful or the connected at the expense of the weak and the vulnerable. It must resist any incursions on its freedoms, but also embrace accountability, transparency, and continuous reform.
Let's have a conversation on the back of this new development. Christian Hesse is legal practitioner. He's joining us with his perspective. Christian, I appreciate your time this evening, but when you hear the transformative assurances from the Chief Justice, you hear similar from the President. Are those the immediate needs of the judiciary?
Good evening, and thanks for having me. Yes, I believe they are very immediate needs of the judiciary. The first of it is the integrity restoration, because there's been Afrobarometer perception index. Aside that, to indeed the judiciary has gone through a phase, and we cannot pretend that everything has been okay, and given that it is reflective in the speech of President John Dramani Mahama, and also in the speech, in the remarks of His Lordship Justice Paul Bafo-Boni, and that recognizes the fact that the judiciary has been through some turbulence, and it is believed that his chapter would restore that confidence and calm the waters, as we believe that to be.
I see. Practically speaking, what are some of the changes you'd like to see under Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Boni?
I mean, for me and for many of legal practitioners, I and more particularly talking on my own behalf, I would expect that the e-justice system will move away from just, or will expand into other regions of the country, and not necessarily be concentrated at the High Court complex. Indeed, it is interesting to note that the e-justice system, after its inception or its operational viability, has never extended even to the Supreme Court, not alone to even talk about expanding to Tema and other jurisdictions within the country, the regional jurisdictions. So it is my prayer that, as he mentioned, that technology and AI would be one of the things he'll be putting his hands on. I believe that, and I pray to say as the better, that he would advance that particular resource to which is also going to help in case advancement, and also I pray that he also looks at the case management system, because currently we have a lot of congestion of cases at various courts. I appear at a certain court, at a high court at Adenta, and the judge at one sitting indicated that he is undaunted with 900 cases to deal with, and he's a human being, and it would be difficult plying through all of that. Yes, there are some courts. I remember before His Lordship was promoted to, that's Justice Akabuafo was promoted to Court of Appeal. At one point in time, he was sitting at GJ6, and he mentioned that he had a caseload of about 600 cases. So, I mean, a number of practitioners will bear me out on how some of these judges are loaded with cases. And as human beings as they are, it's very difficult to see that these cases are heard expeditiously. And these are judges that they would have to deliver bench ruling in certain situations, because there are instances where lawyers want their cases expeditiously and will be putting all the rules under CI 47 in respect of expeditious trial. And, the judge is also undated with all these things. So we pray that there will be decongestion with respect to expansion of infrastructure. So, because the more lateral the infrastructure becomes, the more easy the decongestion would happen. And to speak of the lateral expansion of infrastructure, it has been my submission, throughout this process that the judiciary works closely with the district and municipal assemblies in putting out more court complexes or court houses, so that in various districts, if we have one high court, one circuit court, and one district court, it helps with the territorial jurisdiction of spreading across cases and helping with the decongestion.
Right.
And it also speeds into the case management system, so that the average length of cases will reduce drastically from 3 years to probably about a year or two. And also the enhancement of alternative dispute resolution, that's the court-connected ADR, to be made more available and be more accessible, and be drummed or through education be made available to litigants, that it is definitely an alternative system, because most litigants, when you apply for court-connected ADR, they are less desirous of embracing it.
Right. And those things that you're spoken about would deal with the speed of the wheel of justice, right? But how about the swiftness of that wheel as well? When the Chief Justice, excuse me, not swiftness, but the fairness of that wheel of justice, right? When the Chief Justice speaks about the independence of the judiciary, when the President talks about the judiciary not bending to the whims and caprices of the powerful in our society, what steps must be put in place in order to achieve that fairness that we expect of the judiciary?
I mean, both the president of the land and also the Chief Justice indicated that they need to strengthen the code of ethics for judges, and also there need to be the strengthening of internal mechanisms so as to strengthen justice delivery and access to justice. And when these things are done, just as they opined, I also believe in the same thing, that when these internal protocols and ethics with respect to conduct of judges and all of that are strengthened, and also more training programs, which I know currently it happens more at the judicial. They have a judicial secretariat where some of this, they have their trainings, that we see more of these things happening, so that such refresher courses would always put our judges on awareness, because they are doing a lot for Mother Ghana, and we need to commend them. And so when some of these things come in there, it will enhance their resource capabilities to ensure that justice goes out to everybody, irrespective of the position or the political power that person wields.
I see, but hear me out, Hesi. How seriously can we take that when in this country we are all behaving, turning a blind eye to the fact that there's been an announcement of a petition against the now Chief Justice, a petition of his misconduct, allegedly? How seriously can we take that transparency that we talk about, that not bending to powerful people in the society or the judicial independence?
You know, if we look at Article 146, I had spoken about it more on your platform, and I sometimes try to bring in new angles. So at a point in time, some people started calling me Mr. Jurisprudence, you know, and having discussed all the issues concerning Article 146, it is very conclusive to say that that particular provision in the Constitution is problematic and is fraught with its own problems. And until we have a regulation that would support it for certainty and in terms of procedure and all of that, or until we have an amendment, we are going to see some of these things come up. And this current Chief Justice will not escape such petitions. And definitely whoever has grievance, whether legitimate or not, we are going to have that go through. And it will now be for the president to determine in conjunction with the Council of State. These are some of the things that Justice Dateba in the Ajay case of the Attorney General spoke against, that we would find ourselves in situations where the president would have to sift through some of these things, and given whether the president is for it or not, it will become problematic. So again, in as much as we are looking for such robust reforms, we need legal regimes also to help the process correct itself. Yes, we have checks and balance. We have checks and balance. That's okay, so that we don't have over concentration of power in one institution, and that would abuse power and all of that. But at the end of the day, too, we also need to ensure that the rigors of the law flows through, internal processes are strengthened, and by that we are going to see the best of his administration. We wish him all the best, and we pray that his chapter brings success to the judiciary and the weather is calm for it.
Hesi, that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for your insight on the subject matter. Christian Mam Hesi is a legal practitioner. We've just been discussing the new head of the judiciary, Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Boni. Now let's turn attention to other matters now, because tonight we cram the numbers as we break down Ghana's new VAT structure. You want to stay on for that? Well, now, Ghana's new VAT structure is giving a section of the business community sleepless nights over the fact that it will create severe discrepancies in the retail market and undermine compliance efforts. Now, you may recall Finance Minister Dr. Kasila Toforson announced a series of tax reforms, including a reduction of the effective VAT rate from 21.9% to 20%. Here's the minister again.
Finance Minister Dr. Kasila Toforson, during the presentation of the 2026 announced series of tax reforms, including
Well, we apologize for that. Now, remember that the Finance Minister made the remark originally during the 2026 budget statement. However, he also reiterated that point in an exclusive interview on Key Points only last Saturday. Now, while I'm unable to show you that at this time, I do want you to know that in addition to that reduction in the VAT rates, the VAT standard rates from 21.9% to 20%, we also know that there is an increase in the threshold for which businesses will now pay the standard rates. Right, that threshold, which used to be 250,000 per annum, is now 750,000, and that is the problem that the Ghana Union of Traders Association is worried about. That while government says the move is to ease the tax burden on small and medium-scale businesses, the union is now worried that this new VAT structure will rather squeeze traders. Take a listen.
Threshold was 200,000. It was still creating disparities because customers come and they go to wherever they want to buy, and even that we are complaining, especially when we are in the same vicinity of trading. And then also the affordability of the tax is also compromised because most of us were paying the 4% flat rate, and now we are being made to pay 20%. It's a huge gap. So this is what is going to happen. It's going to make compliance rather very difficult. because we are operating in the same vicinity of trading. We are trading in the same commodity lines. And then by virtue of the threshold we have been segregated. How do you even determine the threshold? And it's going to also push so many people to reduce the scope of their businesses in order to survive. The economy has been so stabilized. The finance minister have promised that they are going to sustain the gains. When the president said that we are going to rationalize the tax system, we are very happy, because then we have to talk about rationalizing the tax, and then we can use the AI to make sure that if the taxes have been made simpler and cheaper, then you do not have to dodge it.
I've got to say that nearly every year, Gutta talks about the VAT. You can go as far back as 2 years ago. They talked about the VAT. In 2024, they talked about the VAT. In 2025, they are talking about the VAT. And next year, I can surmise that they will talk about the VAT. Now, that means, or that signifies how important VAT is to their businesses. But what does it all mean? Francis Boy is a tax consultant who's joined us with a quick chat on the back of this. Francis, I appreciate your time this evening, but let's start off with this threshold increase. What does it really mean for businesses?
So, Keminni, VAT globally works with the requirement to register. You know, businesses are normally appointed as agents to collect VAT from consumers like you and I, so that they will account it to the government. Because you don't want just anybody to be collecting the taxes, we introduce VAT requirement or registration requirement. And one criteria for checking that you qualify to collect is what we call the threshold. So we look at the volume of transaction you do, your sales, then we introduce it, and then we allow you. Since 1998, when we introduced VAT into the country, we started with 20,000. So people who sell above 20,000, I mean, then it was 200 million. Then 2001, we brought it to 10,000. Then in 2010, we increased it to 90,000. And 90,000, as at that time, I think the exchange rate was around 1.43 pesos. So dollar-wise, it was around $62,000. Then in 2013, we increased it to 120,000. Then what we are operating now was 2015. We took it to 200,000. Again, if you convert, it's around $53,000. Today, we are proposing 750,000 Ghana cedis. If you do the conversion, it's still around $62,000 or 62,500. So I believe that assuming the dollar is being fixed, you can see that we are still within the same, threshold. And administratively, you can't allow everybody to start charging VAT. Imagine you walk to the shop owner and then you go and buy a pen and you expect this person to charge VAT. This is too tiny. And it's difficult even for the GRA to monitor because it's a self-assessment. If you don't monitor it, people will collect and won't pay. So the threshold globally, we introduce it so that people can, we can cut away those small people, and then we focus on the large volumes. In fact, if I should give you some statistics, if you look at Uganda's threshold is $40,000. Burundi is $82,000. Namibia does $30,000. So,
right. So
I believe that the threshold
bottom line at the 750,000 cedis, that should be good for businesses.
It is, because apart from the exchange rates which we are pegging, I think we are still within the same amount. Again, it is good for businesses, small businesses, so that those people can be cut off from the VAT system. Remember, if you are not registered for VAT, you do not qualify for what we call input VAT on all the purchases for refund.
Oh, it would appear we lost Francis there. We'll try and reconnect.
Your purchases. So it's a balancing effect. So I don't think that.
Right. So then, Francis, what readings do you make into Gutta's position about what they call a cascading impact on businesses? They think that it won't have a uniform impact on traders.
No, you see, those who are not registered, anybody below $750,000 do not qualify for a refund on his purchases. So they will end up, they will have to balance it and then absorb it. So in terms of profitability, they are losing. Number two, if you are registered for VAT and your revenue is above 750,000, you claim an input VAT. So if you are shop number one and you are not registered, and shop number two is registered, at the end of the day, you think that you'll be making profit, but because you cannot claim or a refund of the VAT you've paid on your input, you end up absorbing it. So in terms of profitability, you are equal. And remember, we are canceling the flat rate. So at the end of the day, we are going to operate a one standard rate, and the levies are going to be claimable, as the minister has promised.
I see. Which also means that businesses that are not making sales of up to the 750,000 cedis cannot and should not charge VAT.
Yes.
Okay.
So
now, Guta's point, and I'll let you explain, but Guta's point is that there are certain traders who do not make the threshold, which means that they won't be able to charge VAT. But for traders of the same goods who make that threshold, they will have to charge, which also means that the price of their goods will be more expensive. And so the competition with the trader who doesn't pay is unfair.
Not entirely, Keminni.
Right.
You see, if you charge VAT, you can tell that your price is going to be 20% more than my price. But remember, if all of us went to, let's say, China and imported, immediately you come, all the VAT that you pay at the port, you can claim it from government. Okay, so because you can claim it from the government, it's no more expense to you. You're not going to add it to your price. Now, my brother who is not registered cannot claim the same amount of taxes he has paid. He cannot. So he will have to come back and reprice it in such a way that he will pass it on to me, unless he decides to absorb it, which, as a prudent business person, you wouldn't want to make losses. So in your repricing, you have to add the import or the VAT that you have paid on your purchases. So at the end of the day, it is a balancing effect. In the long term, unless you decide that, okay, I'm going to take a hit to my profit, the VAT should not have an immediate impact on the two shops.
On the cost of goods.
Exactly. It used to be that when we're doing the 3%, because the 3% was introduced in 2007, when we assumed that they make a marginal profit of 3%. But, 2007, things have changed. Profitability may not have been a marginal rate of 3%. So I think this is a corrective measure that the government is doing.
I see. And just to be clear, you say that the 3% is being cancelled?
3%. So right now, everybody is going on a standard rate. We increase it to 750,000 Ghana cedis. If you are below, you don't charge and you are not supposed to register. What I was thinking, which I think there needs to be some alignment, is that, we have introduced the modified taxation. The modified taxation is saying that if you sell below 500,000 Ghana cedis, then, and again, you are not registered for VAT, then you can go for the flat rate of 3%. So we're thinking, instead of 750,000, why not 500,000, so that it will align with the modified taxation system? There, I think that there's some misalignment, but maybe the minister had some, a reason for taking it above the modified taxation threshold.
I see. Francis, we'll see how it all plays out. Thank you so much for talking to us. Francis Boy is a tax consultant, and that's all you need to know about the new threshold for VAT registration. Away from those numbers, let's turn attention to the armed forces, because they have released new measures to ensure crowd control and curb chaos. Yeah, I'll tell you more about that right now. Now, tonight we are learning more about the conditions of the 17 surviving victims of the Elwak Stadium stampede, during which 6 people died. Thousands of applicants gathered at the stadium to be enlisted into the military when the tragedy happened. We know government has since pledged full support for these victims. Here's Deputy Defense Minister Broja Jemfi. Well, I apologize we're unable to bring you that as well. But tonight we know the armed forces says things are improving, including for hospitalized victims of the stampede. New measures have been put in place to avert any disasters as the recruitment process resumes at 5 locations and 8 sub-centers across the Greater Accra region. Naval Captain Adjo Ahin joins us now with a bit more on this story. Naval Captain, I appreciate your time this evening, but let's start off with what factors went into deciding these 5 new locations and 8 sub-centers.
Thank you very much. I think since the whole day, since I started the interview, I've always tried to start with an apology and also our condolences to the bereaved families on behalf of the Minister for Defense, the Military High Command, and the entire Ghana Armed Forces. A number of factors went into this decision. One, to start with, we've missed a number of days already. Meanwhile, all the other regions are having their the screening process going on smoothly. So we need to double our efforts, be able to work in tandem with the other regions. So this is the main factor for the extra centers that were added up, so that we'll be able to work at least as close as possible to the other regions, so that the Greater Accra is not left behind. Especially looking at the numbers, Greater Accra was going to take a longer period, and now with the temporary suspension, it will take a much longer time. So we needed more centers to help with the process.
People are you expecting, and over how many days?
Triggered a sudden rush, leaving
22,000 applicants within the Greater Accra region. Yes, those are the figures I got from my team. I mean, the personnel in charge of recruitment. They're expecting about roughly 22,000 people or applicants, yes.
So over how many days are you able to see all these 22,000 people?
So I said we will take 600 per each center. And so for the first day, we'll see if we are able to finish go through the 600, let's say by 1 p.m. and there's more time, that will influence the numbers. So it's possible the next day we could add a few so as to clear the backlog. I think it should not take not less than a week from all these centers. So even on the average, if we were taking that 6,000 from the 8 locations, that already adds up to about 4,800. Yes, so I believe about a week should suffice for the screening. For this first phase, they are in phases. This first part of the screening has to do with inspection of certificates and then physical body selection. That is phase 1. We will come to another phase, which will be written examination, and then we'll go to another phase, which will be a medical examination, so on and so forth. So for this first phase, I foresee it not lasting less than 1 week.
I see. So now let's get into what measures are in place now for crowd control and avert anything like we saw last week.
So to start with, the applicants are going to be segmented in service lots. So applicants applying to the Navy will be restricted to the Tema Naval Base. Those applying to the Air Force will be restricted to the Air Force Base Accra, that is in Demasam. And then the LWAC, the Nicholson Stadium, and the Training and Doctrine Command will take care of the rest, which is the Army applicants. Meanwhile, we have doubled up personnel. We have beefed up the personnel strength. We also have a number of military police going to be present at the various centers to ensure that only applicants are allowed into the centers. to reduce overcrowding and to ensure that the process moves on seamlessly. We've also put in place ambulances. Let me say that the ambulances existed even in the former planning. We also have water just like we had in the first time, and then there will be chairs, there will be canopies. Yes, so the numbers of personnel going to be involved in the screening has increased tremendously to ensure that we have all hands on deck, and also to ensure that non-applicants do not get anywhere close to the census.
Naval Captain, curiously, if the armed forces knew to do this, the question is why these measures were not in place from the get-go.
I think that is a very tangible question to ask. Over the years, we've done the recruitment at the Elwak Stadium. We've done it across the regions. At a point in time, after a certain stage, virtually everybody congregates in Elwak, and it has worked for us over the years. But unfortunately, this year, it failed us. So I believe it's time for us to review what we do. There is an erroneous impression out there as though no planning had taken place, no preparations had taken place. That is not true. We have done this recruitment over and over again, and we have always put in place measures to ensure that personnel are secured. We have first and second and sometimes even third level preparation to ensure that everything goes well. And that has served us over the years. But like I said, this year, unfortunately, it has not held. It is regrettable. And that is why we are now going to this extra steps to make sure that we get more centers to reduce the pressure. Now, this new plan looks like it's fantastic, but I can bet you in some years to come, these same plans that today we are hailing may not work as effective. So what it means is that we need to do a review of the process and then make sure we put in place measures that would address any such occurrences going forward.
Your statement also reminds us of the Board of Inquiry investigations, which you tell us is underway. What are the terms of reference, Naval Captain?
To start with, I am not a member of the Board of Inquiry. And since this incident, I've been a bit busy as well. I've been part of the team that went to to visit the families of the deceased, and I've been on one media station to the other, so I have not averted my mind to that, and so I'm unable to tell you the terms of investigation. But I want to believe that a thorough work will be done, because the Ghana Armed Forces and the Ministry of Defense, we are pained. We are saddened by this event, and we'll do everything possible to get to the bottom of the problem so that it saves us all this embarrassment and all this pain that we are going through now. So I can't give you specific terms of reference, but I can assure you that everything possible will be done to unravel the causes of this year's recruitment process.
The position for some is that the armed forces should not be investigating itself. What are your thoughts on that?
They may not be wrong. That could be another approach. But I believe that the armed forces, in order to ensure that there is transparent process, have asked all the officers who are in charge of the enlistment, both the hierarchy and those in charge at the Greater Accra region. They have all been asked to step aside. And a new team is in. And those teams also have their image to protect, have their dignity to protect. So I'm not sure that they will want to cover up just to save their friends at the expense of the military. I believe that the military has the capability and the professionals to do the work well. In any case, we better understand our system. And so we are in a better position to do this investigation than to bring maybe a non-military person who may not understand some of the basic reasons why we do what we do. So being a first point, I think the military is in a better position to investigate this problem. If after that, the powers that be think that they want another one, well, I don't know. But for now, I think the military is best placed to do the investigation. And we trust that we'll come out with an open and a transparent findings, because we want to improve the system for ourselves. We need these applicants to join the system to help us defend our motherland. Our aim is not to have them, unfortunately, get hurt and some die. So everything possible will be done to make sure that we arrive at the causes and we also find solutions that will last.
What is the current condition of the victims who have been hospitalized?
Thank you. I must say that their conditions have improved tremendously. The 5 in the ICU, 3 of them are much better and they have moved to another section of the hospital. 2 are still in the ICU. 1 is okay, 1 is not too good, but at least all 5 are alive. All the others who are injured, they are all receiving the best of care. Our aim is to ensure that no other person passes on to join this number. 1 death is bad, 6 is terrible. And so to have another one, and so we have our personnel, our medical staff are on their toes to ensure that the best of care is rendered to those in the ICU and those in the other sections of the hospital. So currently, as of this morning, when I checked, we had 16. Out of that, 2 in the ICU, 3 had been moved to, I think, the neuro. Those are technical for me. But all said and done, they are doing well. A number of them have been discharged.
Well, now let's talk about those visits. How did they go? When was the last time you visited?
I think we started Friday, I think. We started from Adenta, and then we went to Katamanso general area. But that day it rained, so we couldn't continue. So we did the other 4 on, we started Friday. Honestly, I've forgotten about the days. I have to cross-check. But we did the remaining 4 on a Saturday. So it meant that the first one was on a Friday. We did the remaining 4 on a Saturday. We went to Enyan. It's in the central region. We had 2 around Kasua, and then we had the 4th one around Tutu. I must say it was heart-wrenching. It was difficult to see the family. Oh, it was very difficult. It was very difficult, and our heart goes out to the family. It's been a very difficult time, very traumatic. Some with only 2 children, and 1 is gone. It's a sad event that we hope will not reoccur within our, at least not in our lifetime. It was very terrible, terrible to say the least.
Naval Captain, I appreciate your time with us. Thank you so much. Naval Captain Veronica Adjo Ahin is Acting Director General Public Relations of the Ghana Navy. Just a quick reminder of the 5 centers that the recruitment will take place starting November 20th, 2025. The Elwak Stadium, which will have 2 centers. The Nicholson Park in Bema Camp will have 2 centers. The Air Force Base in Bema Camp as well. Training and Doctrine Command Tradoc in Teshi, 2 centers. And then in Tema will be the Eastern Naval Command for the Navy recruitment phase 1 as well. You're watching Ghana Tonight. I'm Keminni Amanor. We are live on TV3 and on 392.7 FM. When we come back from our very first break and only break, we'll tell you how the IGP has ordered full investigations into recent police operation in Kwewu that led to the temporary detention of the Queen Mother. The backstory, that's what you need to know when we come back. Don't go away. Welcome back. It's Ghana Tonight live on TV3 and on 392.7 FM. Let's get into that story about Kwewu, because the Inspector General of Police has ordered a full investigation into the circumstances surrounding the recent police operation that led to the temporary detention of the Queen Mother of Kwewu, Nana Adwa Jimfua. Now, the IGP directed the immediate release of the Queen Mother and has tasked the Police Professional Standards Bureau to conduct a thorough inquiry, assuring officers found to have acted improperly or exceeded the authority will face sanctions. All of that contained in a press release earlier today, and I want to share with you bits and pieces of the press release. So you see on your screen at the moment, the IGP directing the release of the Queen Mother of Kwewu following an operation by some officers this morning. Now, initially, the report was that the Queen Mother had been abducted by unidentified people in police uniform. Subsequent to that, this release came from the police, clarifying that indeed the men were from them and they were investigating them, which is why you see the IGP further directing the Police Professional Standards Bureau to conduct investigations into the circumstances surrounding the operation and any officers found culpable sanctioned. It also goes on to say that at this time, security will be intensified in and around Kwewu to ensure the security and safety of all persons, asking for calm and cool heads in that part of the eastern region. Unfortunately, I've got to apologize that I'm unable to bring you the backstory, because all of this is linked to some chieftaincy dispute in that part of the eastern region, Kwewu that is, and I would have connected with our regional correspondent. Unfortunately, I'm out of time. I need to get out of the studio at this time. But as always, I'm grateful that you shared the night with me here on Ghana Tonight. I will see you same time tomorrow. I'm Keminni Amanor. Bye-bye.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding.